Hello, everybody, and welcome to my channel. Today is November the 29th. We are very much so nearing the end of the month and also the final last month of the year that is coming up just in December. I remember just back in November and December last year where we were pretty much at the bottom, and there were many metrics that were also indicating that, hey, the greed is really low, the fear was extremely high, the risk was also extremely low as well to start longing Bitcoin. The drawdown from the top for ROI, it ended up dropping to the significant levels, which we're going to go over as well. And then in 2023, the beginning of the year, many things started to catalyze. For example, Solana, after being associated with FTX and SBF, had a major drop because it was one of the SBF coins. But then, of course, people like Vitalik Buterin, who is a big supporter of Solana, he tweeted that the project has a great future, great team, great development in process, and it's going to have a very bright future. Since then, from the $8 price range, Solana has been one of the heaviest performing layer one blockchains out there, and I believe that Solana is going to be around for a long time. So it's one of the coins that performs really well, along with other coins too that have been doing very well, like Chainlink, especially Rune, Blur, Mina. Some of these coins have been completely outperforming the market, while other coins have been stalling, like Polkadot, like Near, like Cardano, that haven't been moving as much. And then you're also seeing a gigantic surge in coins like Gala. So in this video, what I'm going to talk about, first of all, is how Bitcoin is trending currently on a short time frame. I'm also going to talk about a long-term investing general strategy that could potentially help you in terms of taking profit. I remember having this conversation with a few friends just a few days ago, and there are people who have been in crypto for a while, actually, since the first bull market that I've been in 2017 and in 2021 as well. They never took a sizable risk in terms of investing in the market because of mainly fear, but every time they did invest, what ended up happening was they just never cashed out their profits. And that is a story that many people can also tell, where they wrote it to extreme amounts in the millions, and then they didn't take their profit because usually people don't understand the cycles of a bull and the bear market and how it's important to cash out when you start to have these identifying factors that a potential bull market could be over. Because a lot of people might end up holding it for multiple cycles, and then their millions of dollars of P&L ends up diminishing to something very small, and they're riding it through the bear market cycles and then hoping that in the bull market, again, when it comes, they have a potential to even reach newer highs. But statistically, what shows is that over 80% of coins that have made an all-time high in 2017, they never even came close to reaching that same type of all-time high in the next bull market, so in 2021. So, and this is going to also go towards the coins that have made all-time highs in the 2021 bull market. I just don't believe that many of them will find these new all-time highs in this next upcoming bull market. So I'm just going to talk to you about some investment strategies and some of the metrics that I believe are contributing to a possible strong bull market that is most likely to come. So right now, the way that Bitcoin tends to cycle is around the halving that's used as an anchor point. So whenever the halving ends up occurring, usually there is some capitulation before the halving or after the halving, and then that year ends up rallying with huge ROIs that eventually leads into a bull market year that eventually has a bear market year right after that. And then the year after the bear market and the year before the halving is the year that happens. And then that's the year we're in right now. So it's always cycling in a 4-year. So the bull markets were 2013, 17, 21. The bear market years were 2014, 2018, 2022. Then the year after the bear market and also before the halving year, it was always 2016, 20, or sorry, 20, 2015, 2019, and 2023. And these are the years where the bulls and the bears are constantly fighting each other. And there's always a major battle. Sometimes the bulls will win, sometimes the bears will win. There were major rallies combined with major capitulations as well. But generally, the year leading up to the halving is a slow and consistent year. And then the halving ends up occurring. There could be a sideways movement for a while, which would mark a really good period for an accumulation. If you think that you've missed out on the bull market, I want to remind you that there's still an opportunity to catch a major drop if a capitulation does happen again before or after the halving ends up occurring, because usually during the halving there's always a capitulation before or after the halving. But if that ends up happening, alts are gonna probably lose 40 to 60 to 70% of their value from where they're at right now, and that would mark a really good opportunity to dollar cost average and to get into some of the altcoins that you were looking at, and also for Bitcoin as well. Usually there's always a stall right after that halving occurs. That after that accumulation period occurs, it leads up into a huge ROI, ending the year incredibly strong. And then the year after, we always end up leading into a huge bull market. So the question is, are you prepared to make that decision to get into the market? Have you timed it? Have you formulated some strategies to be hyper successful in this upcoming bull market? A few things need to be understood. And one of the key things is, first of all, understanding this market cycle of ours, how it's oscillating within a 4-year period so far. So many comments on Twitter where people are like, well, because of the economy right now, it's gone to shits, and interest rate hikes are going to go up right now, and there's not going to be extra money printed to support this type of bull market. We have to understand that next year, there's the federal election in America. Right now, the interest rates are completely fixed. I'm confident that by the end of the year, during that election period, many policies will have been made to, first of all, support crypto and to support fixing the economy as well. And I would expect that the money printer will eventually be turned back on, which will be in line with the November presidential election, and which will also be in line with the Bitcoin halving year finishing very strong like it always does. So when you think of many factors such as the money printer being turned back on, a presidential election that will be formulating new policies that will support Bitcoin as well, one can only expect that leading into the end of the halving year, 2025 could begin a major bull market, which would be in line with the current cycle that we're seeing in a 4-year Bitcoin cycle. So I'm extremely excited about that. And I'm going to show you some metrics as well here, and just to kind of talk about some of the key things that made me believe that the bull market is now officially at an end. So one of the major charts is the all-time high drawdown. So in the previous years, what we've seen is we've seen Bitcoin drop to levels that were consistent. Just as an example, in the year of bear market leading to 2015, near the very end there, what we saw is roughly an 80 to 85% drawdown from the all-time high of where the price of Bitcoin was, okay? So Bitcoin ends up dropping 80% after the bull market. So the white line here is the price, and the red line is the drawdown from the all-time highs. So then if you take a look at the 2018, 2019 year, it had a very similar type of drawdown as well, between 80 to 85%. And then if you take a look at the 22 to 2023 year, you're seeing it reached almost 80%, but not quite, around that 75% level. Now, one would argue that it would have made sense to wait a lot longer for this drawdown to occur before buying. But if you also combine it with factors such as the fear and the greed index, where when you're starting to see a major drawdown of, say, 70 to 85%, and you're also starting to see massive greed in the cycle as well, that is a great opportunity to buy. So if you take a look at 2018, after that last capitulation occurred, and it was massive fear around there, that is where the drawdown was around 80 to 85%. And then over here as well, in 2022, by the way, this is 2018, around there. And then if you take a look at 2022, 2023, you're also seeing extreme fear here as well. Okay, massive fear. and then you combine it with that drawdown between 75 to 85%, it could have marked a great opportunity. And then when you also look at the historical risk levels between zero point 0.2 and 0, those are always fantastic opportunities to buy. So for example, in 2015, every time the historical risk level was below zero point 0.2, we ended up rallying extremely hard. And then when we go up above zero point 0.8, that's where you're usually reaching the tail end of that massive rally. For example, in the last 3 weeks of 2017, we ended up doing another 50% in Bitcoin, going from, I believe, $10,000 to $19,000 in 3 weeks. So when you're over above zero point 0.8, there could be that one last major push to the upside. And if that does end up occurring, we could reach a risk level of near 1, where it would be very dangerous to hold on to it further. And then in 2023, we're also reaching here. The historical risk levels drops below 0.2. So when you combine a drawdown of over 75% from the all-time high, combining that with a zero point 0.2 risk level as well, and you're combining that with a fear and greed index, those are just some of the factors that could have influenced how Bitcoin and convinced us that Bitcoin has reached the bottom already. So because of these metrics, it's really difficult for me to believe that we haven't reached the all-time low yet for this current cycle. And also, when you factor in, like I mentioned, the Bitcoin halving year itself on a 4-year cycle, you can see that the Bitcoin halving years, they are generally extremely bullish after they occur. There's never been a sign of bearishness. There's always been signs of bullishness where the ROI is huge leading up to date. So ROI over here is covering 2016, 2020, and also before that, which doesn't really matter too much for the blue one, 2013. So don't worry about that. It's too far back. But even if we considered it, after the halving does occur, there could be some capitulations, but over the span of a year, it always ends up staying very bullish. So we end up finishing incredibly strong on ROI. So just based off of previous metrics, it's impossible to say that after the halving, we are going to capitulate further. Not only that, when you factor in the presidential election, like I mentioned, and we're factoring in that new policies will most likely be in play, you can just imagine how important this presidential election is, okay? And how crypto will definitely be talked about, not by everyone, by some people. And policies will absolutely be made to adopt Bitcoin further and regulate it in America, because the whole headline news right now is that America is not adopting it or encouraging it as much as other countries. Instead, they're preventing users from being able to access crypto. That's why Gary Gensler is extremely hated right now. There's a war with the SEC against crypto right now, and they're trying to change that with more positive policies that's going to encourage the growth of crypto adoption in America. And in Canada as well, the same thing will end up occurring. Just more importantly, the American elections will have a much more significant weight on how the bull market could shape up. The money printer will eventually end up being turned on again. Right now, nobody's spending. The interest rates are extremely high to get any type of loans, to grow your business, to buy a car, to mortgage a house. But once that inflation rate ends up dropping, more people will have access to loans, more money will be injected into the economy as well. The money printer will be turned back on. And not only that, the ETF is extremely important as well. The deadlines of the ETFs have all been filed to have a consensus between January the 2nd and January 7th now. So we would expect, I'd probably say like 70 to 90% chance that BlackRock's ETF will get approved within January. So if this happens, it's going to open up a completely different division of how Wall Street will now be able to invest in crypto. And I believe because of this, the entire market cap of crypto will grow tremendously. And like how Kevin O'Leary always said, that he predicted this years ago, even before he knew about BlackRock ETF, like we're talking years. He said that the moment that Wall Street will be able to invest in crypto, there's going to be billions and trillions of dollars pouring into crypto overnight. And if this holds true, we can, leading up into the halving especially, and also the presidential election, and also quantitative easing, and also the money printer being turned back on, also inflation rate being curbed, there's going to be a very high possibility that 2024 is going to be a tremendously bullish year. Just talking about some of the fundamental factors that can contribute to a possible bull market right now. Now that you know a bull market is likely to be in play, it's really hard to argue with the fact that Bitcoin is not going to rally in these upcoming years. I can't see many points right now that would argue against a bullish next, like basically from now till the end of 2025. I'm not saying that a major bull market will keep going up and there won't be many corrections, but I am saying that generally speaking, the bulls are going to win much more severely than the Bears will. In fact, the Bears will most likely get destroyed the majority of the times leading up from now till the end of 2025. So let's just assume that your bias is now bullish. Now the question is, how are you going to enter? Right? You have to have a formulated strategy of knowing when to enter and knowing how these cycles will work. So if you look at it from a fundamental perspective, like I mentioned, there's a capitulation before or after the halving in that same year. And that's going to mark a great opportunity, in my opinion, to take a look at potential buys for both Bitcoin and for altcoins as well. So not only that, you can use many different gauges, such as the weekly 21 moving average. Okay, so let's just start getting into this. One of the best metrics to use that is going to indicate a long-term bullish trend is usually going to be on the weekly 21 moving average. That's going to be a great indication of going to the upside, okay? And another indication is many people use this as well, but I personally don't use it. It's called the bull market support band right here. And you always see people like Benjamin Cohen using it. So this is going to have the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA. So it's a band that's going to oscillate like this, okay? So the faster one that's crossing more, right? Actually, which one is the faster one? I can't even tell. Or okay, the faster one is the blue line, and the longer one. So the red is the 21 EMA, the blue is the 20 SMA. So this is called the bull market support band, where in a bull market we tend to stay above the weekly chart. And then it changes direction. It crosses over again once the trend has officially changed. So this is just one of the ways that you can use it to time your entry. For example, when it breaks to the positive side here, it will usually come back eventually. It breaks up heavily, it will come back. Buying on a bounce has always been proven to be fairly successful long term. So just as an example right now, we see that it's bounced above it several times, broke below it. Now it's crossed back up to the positive side. Perhaps if it bounces again sometime next year, that would prove a very great opportunity to enter a long position. You can also use different metrics such as chandelier exit indicator as well, or even EMAs, or you can even look at hash rate ribbons as well. So there's many ways to enter the market and timing it so you can have a greater degree trend that has now been confirmed. So you've got to ask yourself, do you have a strategy to enter this market? So the first thing that you got to figure out is how you're going to enter, right? And when. And the second thing that I would highly suggest is to have a highly diversified portfolio. And in this portfolio, it shouldn't just be, for example, Bitcoin and Ethereum only. I consider Ethereum now one of the main alts and not just another altcoin as well now, because Ethereum has a 17% market dominance, which is really huge compared to the other alts as well. So it's definitely gaining or being consistent with the way it's keeping market share of crypto. So the way that I've got my portfolio diversified, so the way I have my portfolio diversified is 50% in Ethereum and also Bitcoin. And in those two of the 50%, 30% is for Bitcoin and 20% is for Ethereum. And the reason I do this is because I want surety. I want something with high probability, with high affinity of being successful. And I know that Bitcoin and Ethereum have been proven to be successful long term. They have a huge market share, and I just can't see it not being around or not performing well in the next bull market. But it is true that in terms of percentages wise for ROI, it may only do anywhere between 4x to even 10x. We just don't know exactly how well both of those can perform. When you compare it to low cap alts, and alts that are ranked well below 200 or well under 500, those coins have that possibility to do some huge ROIs. We're talking like 1,000% gain. And then there's a lot of other coins that are the blue chip ones, such as Solana, AVAX, Optimism, Matic, Polygon, Polkadot. These ones have been performing fairly well. Of course, there's a lot more than that as well, but I'm referring to like the top 100 coins, top 150 coins that are considered these blue chips that have a very proven team so far. They have a good reputation. They're very active with publishing and keeping their users up to date and the public as well. They're active on Twitter. They have Q&As. They have Ask Me Anythings. They have a good team, a good project in general, and they're making progress. They're fairly established. They have a big market cap as well, and they have good tokenomics. Their circulating coins versus their maximum coins is doing fairly well right now. So their tokenomics are just looking fairly good across the board, like Gala, for example. So there's these coins that you should consider getting as well and making a percentage of your overall portfolio. So in my blue chips, outside of the 50% for Bitcoin and for Ethereum, I'm going to be keeping about 35 to 40% for these blue chip coins. And that's going to be divided up into certain sectors. So for example, Ethereum is a layer 1, but I'm still going to have other layer 1s as well. I'm also going to look at layer 2s. I'm also going to look at gaming infrastructure or GameFi in general. I'm also going to take a look at AI coins. I'm also going to have a little bit in meme coins as well. So these are the different sectors that I'm going to invest in. So of that percentage, so 50% is dedicated to Bitcoin and Ethereum, specifically 30% Bitcoin, 20% Ethereum. And we'll just say about 40% of that's left of the 50 is going to be invested in these specific structures of mine. And then after that, I'm going to divide it up further. How much for each sector? So for example, I'm a big fan of gaming. So I'm going to allocate of that 40%, 12% of that 40 to my gaming portfolio, the gaming sector. And then I'm going to choose coins of that 12%. I'm going to divide it up further. And then the reason why I only chose 40 out of that 50% is because 10% of the entire portfolio is going to be dedicated to coins that are not that established yet, but they're going to have a potential to do like 100x, 1000x, 10,000x. Let's just say of that 10%, you divided it up into like 30 coins or even 50 coins. It only takes one or two of those coins to do something astronomical. Let's say you nailed like 2 or 3% of those coins and it did something astronomical. That alone would pay it off, because I believe that it's really fun to also have these high risk coins that have the potential to do something phenomenal. But with that, it's going to require a tremendous amount of background research. You have to see what sector it's in. You have to see how they're innovating. You have to research the entire team behind the project, because the white paper could be, you've all seen that meme of white paper versus reality, right? Where the white paper is this really distinguished horse that's drawn in detail, and then the actual project is like a sketch of a 1-year-old drawing or a 5-year-old drawing a horse. So when you take a look at these projects, you got to be able to vouch for them. You got to see where the CEO, where the developers come from, what projects they've been involved in before, how active is their community. You have to take a look at their Twitter. Are they publishing often? Or are they just one of those cryptos where a project got together and then they're just trying to raise funds for a release, for an ICO, for initial coin offering? They're going to get people to buy it, where they allocate a tremendous amount to the team to begin with, like 50%, and then they just end up dumping on their users, on the people that bought for the ICO, and then they disappear to an island. It happens all the time where people come into the project and their main goal is just to make a quick, fast little bit of money. For example, move to earn sector, okay, which is in gaming, but it's like a subsector of gaming. I do not touch move to earn in any way. Move to earns are the devil to me, because I got burned by GMT, Step N. I was up about $95,000 or $100,000 just minting their shoes. But of course, I understood that eventually something was going to happen. And then I kept minting, I kept walking. I was going to cash it eventually because I had too much invested in the market. So instead of making $100,000, that next day, that's where everything crashed. So I ended up losing $10,000 instead of making $100,000. So it was a really crappy situation for me. And because of that, I tried to take a look at one more coin after that. It was called Step App, just to follow it. And Step App actually ended up getting what's his name? That Jamaican guy, Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt to sponsor them as a spokesperson. So he was going to all these Step App meetings. Usain Bolt, right? Of course, and it was an app made for walking to make money, right? So it's Usain Bolt, right? He's like won the Olympics how many times, world champion record holders. After you get a celebrity endorsing something like that, you would imagine it would do decent. But turns out that it just ended up tanking, just like all move to earns, and it failed miserably. So some sectors I completely avoid. But there's also other sectors like meme coins where I was really against it. But I figured they're fun, first of all, and they have some gigantic market caps like Pepe or like Dogecoin. Or Floki. They have gigantic market caps. People enjoy investing in these coins, and you just never know. Despite the inflation, despite more circulating supply coming into the market, there could still be an opportunity for some massive gains. That's why I have 3% of my entire portfolio dedicated towards meme coins, and then 10% is dedicated to those under top 500 projects that are not that known yet, that are competing or trying to innovate against these larger like layer ones or layer twos, just trying to look for something different, trying to look for like a gem in the rough that could indicate these guys could do something huge. And eventually you might hit on some, you might miss on everything. But if you just got one or two right, and generally speaking, you can either do a lot of research yourself and look at a bunch of different coins out there, or just watch a lot of videos. Watch a lot of videos on YouTube, see what other, you can say, influencers are talking about, make a list of that, and then compare it to the ones that you're doing research on as well. So that's another alternative way. So the investing strategy that I'm generally talking about right now, it's very general, just so you know. There's a lot more behind it as well, right? Especially when you're managing a gigantic portfolio. I've taken a step away from heavily day trading, moved towards swing trading because I don't have as much time to day trade. And also because I'm managing a multi-million-dollar portfolio that is going to outperform my day trading by magnitudes. I thought I was going to sit here and day trade all day and make a lot of profits, but I realized that it takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of research as well into technical analysis, and you have to spend your time watching the market 24/7. But when you're managing a multi-million-dollar portfolio, a lot of fundamental analysis needs to actually come into play as well. So now that you kind of have a general idea of how to break down this portfolio, okay, make sure you stick to that. Make sure you understand where your breakdown and where your allocation of your money will be. So make sure you decide on a specific amount that you're going to invest. Some you might keep cash on hand. Wherever you allocate it, make sure you have a pie chart that's going to explain where all of your money is going to go. Okay, now that you know how to enter, you know generally how to divide and diversify your portfolio. The next thing that you're going to eventually need to know is how to ride it to the maximum possible amount. Okay, what metrics are you going to use that's going to let you ride it to the maximum amount possible? Okay, and this video is getting long already, so I don't want to go into it even further. Okay, but I will do a quick TA of Bitcoin after this. So one of the main factors to always consider is that Bitcoin is oscillating in a 4-year cycle. And there's always a certain amount from the all-time high, a time period between the all-time high and also reaching the local bottom, okay? And we're going to go over that in the next video. And usually it's around 400 days, okay? After the 2013's bull market, it took around 400 something days, plus or minus. In 2017's bull market, same thing. In 2021's bull market, same thing. Took a little bit over 1 year and like 2 months roughly, something like that, or around there. And we'll confirm everything in the next video tomorrow when I post it. So we know that it cycles from the all-time high to the bottom around 400 days. Another thing that we also know is that the bull market, it lasts for a specific time frame as well. after the Bitcoin halving. So the Bitcoin halving usually happens in like April, May, June, or July. That's historically been the halving month so far. And also historically, the bull markets have all lasted up to, for example, November, December mainly. It's never ended in the summer. It's always ended near the end of the year in quarter 4. So we know when the halving begins. We know historically how Bitcoin has reached all-time highs near the end of the year. We know how it's generally also tied to a federal election as well. So we know all of this data. Therefore, if we have a timeline, we should be able to exit based off of a time analysis as well. So that should be one of your criterias to exit your position. If it reaches a certain period of time, no matter what, you should get out. So for myself, for example, around October, November, December, I'm really going to be watching to see what's happening, or slightly even before that, in case there's a blip in the cycles and we end up finishing early. But never will I hold to past 2025, because history has told us about these 4-year cycles and how Bitcoin has always ended near the end of the year. Another major thing that I'll be watching for are indicators that's going to tell me that the bull market is coming to an end. And one of them is going to be the bull market support band. One of them is going to be the chandelier exit indicator as well. Another one is going to be the EMAs on multiple time frames. So these indicators will also allow me to ride it to the maximum amount. But at the same time, these indicators will also allow me to take profit when I believe that the bull market has now turned and there's no longer a potential for a longer term rally. So those are the two ways that I plan to exit the market. Another way that you could consider as well is if Bitcoin reaches a specific price point that you will be happy with. But I'm not the biggest fan of this strategy, because if Bitcoin breaks above $69,000, then it would be in price discovery mode. So in price discovery mode, you just don't know how high the price of Ethereum or Bitcoin or any general altcoin could actually go. So because of that, in my opinion, it's better to rely on a specific time frame that you're going to allow yourself to be in the trade for, and also using specific indicators such as the chandelier exit indicator or the EMA or the bull market support bands, and also a combination of bearish price action as well. This is going to be your best ways to exit the market. So the video is getting a little bit longer now, at 40 or 35 minutes. So I'm going to end the video right after I give you my quick thoughts on what Bitcoin is doing right now. So just to summarize quickly, we talked about why I believe the bull market is currently here already, how Bitcoin is oscillating in a 4-year cycle, how to generally divide up your portfolio to diversify into different sectors as well, and to perhaps consider sectors like meme coins or these possible coins that could blow up to do 1000x because they're fun, and it only takes 1 or 2 coins to make it big for you to make back whatever you invested in multiple coins. And we also talked about some key factors to exit the market as well, because you don't want to be one of the people that I talked about where they were still in their position holding for multiple cycles, and instead of taking profit near the top or learning how to identify where a possible top is, they end up just riding it to multiple cycles and they lose their entire profit. My name is Philakone. Thank you very much for joining me. I've been in the crypto space for over 8 years now. I've made well over 7 figures in profits for day trading and investing. Used to be a mechanical engineer, got to leave my job behind and work for myself and get to help others as well. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. I would really appreciate if you like it. And make sure you guys are following me on Twitter as well, Philakone Crypto, where I'll give you daily updates of my thoughts on the market or potential coins to trade. And for those day traders and swing traders out there, my new course is now out. Definitely consider getting it. It's only $199. It covers exactly how to trade from the beginning to the very end. So for novice traders to advanced traders as well, it's going to cover the ultimate strategies that I will be using in this upcoming bull market. That's going to range from pattern trading to the continuation trading to the chandelier exit indicator. It is a fire course and people have been saying great things about it. It's very different than my old courses because it's now, first of all, summarized and the strategies are much more specific. It's a 16-hour course for only $199. And I know for a fact that when you finish this course, You're not going to regret it in any way at all. So pick up my new course. The link is below. But before we finish off the video, I'm going to talk to you guys about just my thoughts on Bitcoin right now. So Bitcoin has been trending in this type of pattern for a very long time now. So we see this 37 days now, I believe. I'm just going to draw it for you on a 12-hour time frame. We see this pattern that has been trending like this. Despite having some wicks to the downside and candles, if we go to a different time frame, it's going to look completely different, right? We see it like that, and that's a beautiful trend line support to consider because it also factors in some bear trapped regions. So this has been trending for, I believe, 37 days now, like since we reached that top, 37 days. And also Bitcoin is trying to break above this $38,000 region and stay above it. So it's hit exactly here where we're at now multiple times. But if you want to be more accurate, this one here would be a more accurate representation because you can see that it's hit it once, twice, 3 times, and the whole section 4, and this is the 5th time. And then this is more of a resistance range. I would always consider a resistance as a range rather than a specific number. So this resistance range of about 1.5%, Bitcoin is definitely trying to break above it right now. And the next logical point, if we do break to the upside, would be anywhere between $40,000 to $48,000. So this is not that significant of a price point. So the way that you would gauge a strong resistance is whenever you break past a certain price point, look to the left. Where would be the most relevant resistance where it had a deep retracement going up after the previous rally? So you can see that this one had a big drop, and then the next rally after that. So you look for the previous resistance, which is this one, that had a big retracement on that trend. So it had a big retracement because it went up here about 48%. So this would be the most relevant resistance at $48,000. But are we going to get there anytime this year? I just don't believe that that's going to be possible. Not this year. Although I would say 40 to 43K is very realistic. And it does look like Bitcoin wants to break above here. Because what we are seeing is we're seeing a bullish crossover on the 12-hour chart. Despite a lagging indicator, nevertheless, it is showing that it's bullishly crossing to the positive side. Also, if you take a look on the daily, it's gaining steam now. Before it was trending down, but you're starting to see the fast line, the blue line right here. Looks like it wants to cross to the upside eventually. So right now, what we're seeing is a gradual increase in the MACD converging to each other. So this is looking bullish. And it's really difficult to argue against that based off of, for example, even the 8-hour chandelier exit indicator, okay? Where the 12-hour is seen best. It's been trending bullishly on the 12-hour chandelier exit indicator for literally 73 days now since the beginning of September at 24K. And since then, we've never even broken above it. So we're bullish to an extent right now on a fairly higher time frame. Now, we would like to be bullish and stay bullish on the weekly time frame for a long period of time. So right now, as it stands, Bitcoin is extremely bullish on the weekly time frame. There's no arguments against that. The Bitcoin bull market support band has been bullish. The chandelier exit indicator has been bouncing off of the weekly as well. So it's really difficult to say that we're bearish. Even short term, looking at these, we're seeing a possible rally to the upside. Now, there's no guarantee of it rallying to the upside, but just based off of the factors right now, it looks like it's on its way to hit anywhere between $40,000 to $43,000. So I'm just going to leave you with these thoughts here right now. I'm going to end the video. It's been almost 40 minutes already. Thank you very much for watching my video. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Please make sure to hit the like and the subscribe button, and make sure you guys are following me on Twitter as well. And I definitely look forward to seeing a lot of you in my course as well. If you've actually watched to the very end of this video, make sure to DM me for the course, and I might just sweeten the pot for you and give you a bonus. So make sure to DM me, and I look forward to having a lot of students. I'll see you in the course, guys. Bam! I can't wait for this bull market to reach the all time high.